What is up, incredible people? I am Victor and this is the Xiaomi Redmi 10C or Xiaomi Redmi 10A. That's it. So in this video, let's review this thing. Before I start our video, let's give a quick shout out to our today's sponsor, Mars2. Mars2 is a group of smartphone shops located at the 3rd floor of Satarakan complex in Kumilla. No matter which smartphone you need, they have all of the brands covered. You can buy your desired smartphone from them at a fair price. Details about them are in the description below. Now for me personally, I am not a big fan of Xiaomi smartphones, but if you look at the company Xiaomi itself, they have introduced a totally new concept of marketing in the smartphone industry. They make a very little profit from their hardwares and most of their profits come from the software inside. So as a result, their software becomes much more heavy. They contains lot of bloatwares and adverts, which makes the experience much worse. So in that perspective, I didn't find any good future for Xiaomi, but they are just simply changed right now. Their MIUI is more useful now, and now the software is much more lighter, and they don't actually ask for much more system as it was in previous. This Redmi 10C is the supreme example of what Xiaomi can do, because if you look at the spec sheet, this phone packs up a lot. Literally, you can find any other competitor of this phone in the market right now. This one comes at a really interesting price tag, which is 13,000 to 14,000. I exactly don't know what is the price. You can check this out from Mars2 from the link in the description below. They can tell you the exact price of this phone right now. But in this price segment, we don't just expect much more, but it has packed a lot inside it. If you look at the specs, this thing has a 6.71 inches display, which is an IPS LCD display, but it's quite bright. It comes with a Corning Gorilla Glass protection. The platform is Android 11 based on MIUI 13. It has a 50 megapixel rear camera with a 2 megapixel depth sensor on the back, and on the front, it has a 5 megapixel front camera. The storage variant here is the 64 and 4GB, but you can opt for a 128 and 4GB variant also. Now all this thing is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 6nm chipset. Now in this price segment, Snapdragon 680 is an overkill because you are not gonna get any other smartphone with Snapdragon 680 in this price segment, but Xiaomi is offering this. Hats off for that. This thing is literally ridiculous that in this price segment Xiaomi is offering this, so it's a good appreciation for Xiaomi. Now let's talk about the design and build quality. Like me personally, I'm not a big fan of this kind of design. I'm a minimalist, so this kind of design is not for me, but some people may appreciate this thing. There is a bigger boxy cutout on the top. Inside that, they have packed another box which contains 2 rear cameras and the AI logo and the flash. In the first look, you might think that this has a quad camera setup, but this is not actually. This is just design gimmick, or I would like to call that like. They have also cleverly set the fingerprint sensor on the rear, which is actually kind of look good. Now everything here is made of plastic, and the hand feel is not that great, but in this price segment, the phone that packs up so much of features, you cannot complain about the build quality that much. On the front, it has a 6.71 inches IPS LCD panel, which is a 720p display. I think it's a good choice for this kind of price point, but the Snapdragon 680 can handle 1080p display, and but as this price segment, I was not expecting 1080p display, so no complaints about that. But what looks bad is the thick bezel around this thing and the V notch on the top, which doesn't look that great on eyes. Now the display is an IPS panel, but the colors on this thing are good, and the brightness is well enough, and I did not find any issue in broad sunlight, so thumbs up for the display section. The Redmi 10C comes with an headphone jack and USB-C connector, a bottom firing speaker, a microphone, no noise cancelling mic. That's okay. On the right side, we have the power button and the volume rockers. On the left side, we have the SIM tray. The SIM card tray is a triple slot, so you can use 2 SIM card and a micro SD card simultaneously, so no complaints about that. It comes with a 5000 mAh battery and the 18-watt charger in the box, so you can expect a good battery life out of this. Now let's move on to the camera section. This thing has provided a 50 megapixel back camera with a 2 megapixel depth sensor, which is of no use, I guess. On the front, they have provided a 5 megapixel front camera for selfie. So not to talk that much, let's move into the image samples and video samples from this device.
So the image samples coming out of the Redmi 10C is good. Like the colors are natural, and by default it takes 12 megapixel photos, but there is a 50 megapixel option. So if you enable that, you can get those more extra resolution. I'm quite happy with the images that come from the Redmi 10C. Now in low light this thing falls apart. It introduces a lot of noise. It has a night mode but it is of no use. It smoothens up the shot. It doesn't help that much in reducing the noise. Now in video section, the Redmi 10C can capture 1080p videos at 30 fps. There is almost no stabilization, so the video is as you can see. It offers slow motion videos, but I didn't find any kind of slow motion in this video except for the lower resolution.
Now let's talk about performance. Now first of all, in this price segment, this is not a performance focused smartphone and this is not meant for gaming. But the Snapdragon 680 inside this is a true performer. For this kind of price segments, this chip is just the master of all chips. So in the performance section on day-to-day tasks, this is not gonna make any problem. In terms of gaming, this is not gonna back you up too much. But as you know, the Snapdragon 680 is a good chipset and performance inside this phone is solid. But what happens with all other Xiaomi phones that they get too hot. And I have experienced this throughout my uses that this phone gets too hot too early. So this can be a deal breaker for some people. In terms of battery, this thing packs up a 5000 mAh cell inside it and no one can kill this phone in a single day of use. No matter how you use this, you cannot kill it in a day. On the cherry of the top, it has the Snapdragon 680 which has 6nm transistor inside it, so this is much more efficient, and when it's paired with this 5000 mAh battery, in terms of battery performance, this thing just nails it. And if you run out of battery, this thing has packed up as 18-watt fast charger in the box, so this will take around 2 hours to charge this phone, but it's well fast forward. Now let's talk about the UI. I'm really not a big fan of MIUI because they packs up a lot of bloatware, so many unnecessary features which actually end up being more heavy on the overall system. In this Redmi 10C also, they have packed a lot of bloatware inside it, and there is a lot of animations like the fingerprint animation. When I put the fingerprint, this thing opens just instantly, but the animation is too slow and sluggish. That makes some issue. Now MIUI is much more stable. There's a lot of bug fixes inside this, so you're not going to run any issue when you will be using this thing. But there is going to be a lot of ads because even now, if you look at the lock screen, it contains an ad. Every time you unlock your phone, you are just going to get some ad, so that's a downgrade for this thing. So now what is my final verdict about this thing? Like in this price segment, the offering is really solid. The camera performance is just okay, but for this price segment, I would say the camera performance like 7 or 8 out of 10. But in terms of overall smartphone camera performance, I mean by all kind of smartphones, this camera doesn't perform more than 3 out of 10. And in terms of performance, as it packs up a very good and efficient chipsets inside this, you can expect good performance from this device. The display is okay and the MIUI is not that great, but in terms of this kind of price segment, you can just ignore that thing. So do I recommend this device? Obviously, this is a solid performer in this price segment and there is no other competitor of this thing right now on the market. So if you want to purchase this, you can head to Mars2 from the link in the description below, and a huge thanks to Mars2 for sponsoring this video. See you soon with some new interesting videos. Till then, stay good, and keep doing incredible things. And yes, of course, keep watching Incredible Victor.